It's right. I am just gonna go over a few things. I'm going over like some of my older works. This isn't like that old, but like it's a good show of my workflow as it's developing. I want to go over that because uh, getting into that rhythm is important. This is one of my older works. Not too old. It's still like within the year, but this was something I made for another server because my hobbies are very one trick. uh, but it's my way of it's my way of you know showcasing what I think people should look at. You'll notice like this is when I was still getting into it, right? I was still not really good with my my groupings. A lot of these have bad, boring names and or none at all. Right? They're named elsewhere. But yeah, let's just start pulling this away real quick, and then I will go over that. So before we even get to properly doing the shading and doing the line art and all that jazz, for that you got this. It's the messy part, you know. It's the sketch layer. Uh, this is how I tend to start every work, right? I plan something out roughly. I draw rapidly. I make a lot of scratchy marks. It's something that I feel like a lot of people don't show, right? In sketchworks, uh, or at the very least, like they try to hide it. They'll color over it or something like that. And to be fair, I do the same. But I want to go over this because it feels like something to be ashamed of. Like especially if you watch like other artist content, like you'll see them like just perfectly just nail every single line they make without a single bit of hesitation. I'm like, how? You know? But usually I'll turn it down like about like 50% opacity once I'm done there, and then I'll go back up and I'll do liner, right? You know, and this is just a way of me thickening things up to get something more concrete, a clear detail. Uh, I will add something that this doesn't show well. You'll see those like heavier, weightier shadows that I added. This is something that I started like recently doing more, but was really experimental like at the time. Was just going back over and adding those in. I made a mistake of putting that on the same layer though, which I should not have done. I should have added that in like as an after effect on another layer, right? But it's one of those things you just have to learn through doing, you know? Uh, Next, I tend to go for like skin stuff next, or like face stuff if there's like a lot of like places. Let me try to find. This is why you label these properly, right? So there is this part, right? The skin, the kind of after effects. I won't really show this once, but I add my shading over top. I learned a trick just by watching videos of using these the matching alphas to better shade and be a little more reckless with it, which is just one of those things you learn uh, through doing and experimenting. Like with eyes, and then it's the hair. Like this character has fox ears and a tail. No, don't judge me for it. I'm already going over some embarrassing stuff. And then I go inwards from there. I do the jacket next, and then I do the armor that's kind of over the chest and the shirt. Uh, I don't think I was supposed to have the glove in here first. I can't remember exactly if I was supposed to. It's been a while since I've drawn it, but this is kind of inconsequential. Like, I might have to add it as an after effect. Honestly, I don't think that was the next one. The inner coat is a very small layer, but I kept it separate because bordering the way that I'm like doing my coloring, right? That base layer has no alpha to it, so being able to just turn it on and off, and then having this as well, it makes adding in that shading and detail, especially for like really overcomplicated pieces with a lot of accessories and a lot of different layers, it makes it a lot less of a pain. Oh boy. Uh, and then you got the shirt itself, and then accessories, so like the sword, and finally this little twig. This little twig, I love this twig. Like I don't want to go like into OC lore stuff right now because that's a mess and something I would put in like comments and not on a video. But like this little twig has such a story to it, and it's so stupid. But yeah, that's just a little overview of that. And like I don't think people need to be taught like good workflow. I'm not your teacher, but I want to go over it because I think it's really important to just pull back on your like older pieces. I've done this before. I've done this with my more recent pieces. I've done this with going back and comparing them. So now I wanted to do you know, I wanted to add in this one because it feels more like a comparison of just getting into that headspace, and that's kind of what I want to talk about a lot when I make these videos. Um, and this process is one of those things that's like it's the first mental barrier. Like if we're going back to that other smaller piece, the one that I made just for like utilitarian sake, the one where I was experimenting as much. Um, it had one singular layer for everything, right? And I like showing off how I've changed because yeah, I could say, oh, I've grown better, but really I've just grown more efficient as a necessity for wanting to try new crap out. Because like it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is a mess. I need to learn something better. And it's fun, honestly, to look back at stuff like this, and just be like, wow, I could have done so much better for so long. Because this would have sped up a lot of my other workflows, and it probably would have been more efficient. I just didn't do it before because I was on a time crunch. So yeah, that was something. Um, Next time we'll probably talk about schoolwork. I think, just because there's like stuff with schoolwork that's like a pain in the butt to go over. I want to take a break before I do that. But yeah, I think it'll be an important part of this weird journaling I'm doing. Okay.